All right, so we're talking about the Reds, right? I'm recording this, by the
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
What do you think about the Reds off season so far?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm kind of mixed. I mean, they spent what $55 million on 5 players. I mean, Jeremy Candelaria, he's a good player, but 3 years and 45 million. Did we need him? I mean, what are your thoughts on Candelaria?
You know, I I was um so fuddled when they did that. I thought at first I'm like they have to be trading India if they've bringing Candelario. He's really he's been a okay baseball player for the most part, except last year he kind of had a breakout. He was on a 1 year prove it deal, and I don't know, like people people tend to do well on those. So I kind of thought that for sure means that India is out. But I think what it means is they're for sure not bringing Votto back, with mixed feelings about. I kind of thought, well, I guess it still could happen, that Votto wouldn't find a interested team and would come back on a really cheap 1 year deal, which I don't think would be bad, at least from a bench, having a bench and
I,
uh, DH spot.
I hope not. I think at this point, Votto's just a quad A replacement level player. I mean, I kind of give kudos to management for not bringing him back, despite him stating he wanted to keep playing. I do hope that he comes back as a coach or special assistant to the GM and works for the team if he wants that. But I think at this
Yeah,
point, his playing days are over. It's time to let the young bucks play, and we've got a lot of young good players.
I don't think it. I agree with you. Like, I think they should be the ones playing the majority. I don't think it's bad to have him as a locker room guy. Just veteran presence. I think all teams this young probably wouldn't hurt to have a guy like that on the bench, motivating. At least he has a lot of knowledge on like how to hit, and some of those players definitely could use some tutelage there. So like I agree with you. Like the majority of the playing time should go to the young kids, but I I I don't think it's a bad to have them around though.
Yeah, I mean, I like him, but I think part of what they brought Candelario in
Yeah,
was to be a leader in the clubhouse. I mean, yes, last year was kind of like a career year, but he's been a 7 WAR player over the past 3 years, and there is ways to make it work. I mean, um, we've got a lot of young guys on the infield. You got CES, McLean, Ellie, Marte, all of those guys came up last year. None of those guys have a full year in the majors. Who knows if they're going to continue to develop and be good. Who knows? Maybe one of them needs to go back to the minors for a little bit. I mean, if you look at Ellie, his second half, I think he hit something like 191 the second half last year. If somebody needs some extra time or somebody gets hurt, um, you know, Candelario's there. And I mean, you can make it work really easy by just giving people 1 day off a week. If you
yeah,
give Marte off a week, 1 day a week, Candelario can play third base. You let CES play 4 games at first base and play a game at DH, and Candelaria can have two starts at first base and maybe two at DH, and everything works. But then he's available if somebody gets hurt, he steps right in, or if somebody's not ready, let's just say Noel B. Marte needs a little bit more time, or McLean's K rate goes spikes up and he needs to sit down for a week or two. You have that depth.
yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. Like I think that's probably why they brought him in. Like I said, I like Candelario is here because they're not going to bring Votto back, which as a Red fan, like, it's kind of a sad to see him go and wish him the best, but yeah, it's probably I guess that's the way that things are going to shake out. Um, so the Reds did make several moves, namely revamping their bullpen and some of their starting pitchers. So they brought in Frankie Montas, Nick Martinez, um, Brent Suter, and
Emilio Pagan,
Emilio Pagan. Thank you. I missed
just
him.
like saying that.
Yeah. So I think Nick Martinez, which he has availability in the out, or as a he has he's a split like starter versus reliever, but I think I would be surprised if they start him off as a starter. I think he's probably a swing man or a long guy. Um, I guess what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they brought in some pitchers, especially starting pitching. I mean, we ranked 28th in starting pitcher ERA last year with a 5.43, and we were only 23rd in starting pitching innings with 787. So, I mean, we needed some fresh blood. Um, he was kind of a swing man. He's had 19 starts over the last 2 years, but he produced really good numbers, a 3.32 ERA over those 19 starts and 95 innings. He's averaged over 100 innings each year working in a swing role. I kind of see him keeping that role, maybe adding a few more starts, but I definitely can see him being like the fifth, sixth man, and he's going to be a big improvement over what we had last year. Because
Oh yeah,
last year we had the replacement killers. We had Luke Weaver, 6.87 ERA. Ben Lively, 5.48. Luis Cisa, you remember that name? Six
yeah,
starts, 9.36. Connor Overton, I couldn't even remember him. Three starts, 11.45 ERA. Carson Spears, two starts, 9 ERA. Levi Stout, two starts, 12.86 ERA. Those players, and I call them replacement killers because they killed us. Those totals were 47 starts, 212 innings, and a 7.23 ERA. So we have to
yeah.
replace those 47 starts. And I think it's a start. I mean, I would have liked for the Reds to have gone for a little more high end guy instead of a 4, 5, 6 guy he's a quality pitcher. And I think the Reds need that. He does make the Reds a better team.
Yeah.
Um, I sometimes wish they'd have gone for maybe a top 50 starting pitcher or somebody that had potential to be a top 50 guy. Maybe
So
like that Dylan Cease or somebody else even that's out there on the trade market.
I was going to bring that up a little bit later, but that's kind of been the trade that wasn't made, or at least wasn't made yet. Um, so last time I heard, in order to get Dylan Cease, they would have had to give up um Brett Lauder, which I think is their first round pick of last. Chase Petty with a promising young pitcher from they got from Minnesota, as well as there was another hitter.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
I'm not
probably
for
too
sure who
much.
the third player was, but is would you have been okay with that?
No, I think that would have been too much. I think I possibly would have been willing to give up Petty, and I know our friend Justin believes in Petty. Um, but I'm okay with him riding it out. I mean, I think by adding Martinez and adding Montas, that gives us six quality starters because we
Yeah.
got Nick Lodolo coming back from injury. We got Hunter Green. He had some bad luck last year, also battled a shoulder injury. So we're hoping he can get back to a 4 to 4.5 ERA. He had a bad year. We had a breakout with Andrew Abbott. And if you look at Graham Ashcraft, I don't know what to think, but he would dominate and then go 3 innings and give up 8 runs. But if you look just as the first half and second half, it's a tale of two halves. His first half, he pitched 81.66 innings, had a six half gets in trouble. I mean, that's one of the great reasons that we brought in Nick Martinez, because he comes in and we can plug him in and he takes over. But I think one of the reasons I didn't make the trade for Dylan Cease was because we've got 4 young starters that are probably all in the top 150 in prospects. Um, and that's Lyon Richardson and Connor Phillips at AAA, and Rhett Lauder and Chase Petty at AA. And I think
Yeah.
those are quality pitchers. Connor Phillips, top 100 guy. I know Rhett Lauder's top 100 guy, and I think Lyon Richardson's probably right outside in the 150 range. Same with Chase Petty. But I think the Reds believe in their young guys, and I think they believe that they might be a year or maybe even less than a year away.
Yeah. I agree with you. So I found the actual supposedly what the White Sox wanted for Dylan Cease, Edwin Arroyo, Connor Phillip, and Lauder, and that's a lot. Like Arroyo's far enough away that he could go either way, but Lauder has a lot of good things, and Connor Phillips had a really good year last year, even though he kind of struggled um in his first taste of the majors. But a lot of pitchers do, especially when they move up that much. So that is a lot to give up on 2 years of taste. But I I do think that there's probably there's still a possibility that as spring training starts to get closer, that they may revisit that. And if I was a White Sox, I'd probably ask for the same thing or even more. But if obviously nobody's fighting, so there's a chance that they could come down in price. I do think it's probably highly likely that if they end up not trading him at all here in the off season, by the trade deadline, it's probably going to be the last chance for them to get a big return for him. So I look for him to get traded mid-year at the latest.
I agree. I think he's going to go. It's just a matter of when. I'm like you. I think it's probably mid-year. But one thing I do feel like is we did add depth and quality. I mean, if you look at it, we have 7 starting pitchers that are quality starters, and to me, a quality starter is somebody that can keep you around league average, which is 4.3, 4.5 ERA. Um, they don't necessarily all have to have an ERA below 3 to be
Yeah.
great. I mean, if the Reds just lowered their ERA, their starting pitching ERA to 4.3 from a 5.84, they would lower their runs allowed by 98 runs. That's a
Wow.
9 to 10 game win improvement. And even if they just improve a little bit and improve to like a 4.5 ERA, they will reduce their runs scored by 81. That's an 8 game improvement. Now, my big question is, I feel like this team is going to go to the playoffs. I think you throw those 8 wins on top of what we did last year. And also, I think we're going to have some improvement on the offensive side by having all those players for a full year. We didn't have Ellie, Matt McClain, CES. We didn't have any of those guys, for a full year. I think the
My
most
cat,
anybody played.
my cat does the same thing.
Oh, yeah. He jumped over the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't knock us offline. But I mean, the most games anybody played was 98 by Ellie. And I think Matt had 89. So my big question to you is, once we get to the playoffs, do we have a number 1 or number 2 to lead us in the playoffs. And the only pitcher that we have on the rotation right now that has a top 40 season in the big leagues is Frankie Montas. He was
Wow.
22nd in 2021, which was 2+ years ago. Hunter
Wow.
Green's never been a top 50 starter. Nick Lodolo was not a top 50 starter in his 1 year that he was healthy. We we have a lot of quality number fours and number fives, but I'm not sure that we have that number one. Now it's always a chance that Lodolo or Green could turn into that number one or two, or Frankie Montas could come back and be that guy. By the way, what do you think about the Frankie Montas 1 year
Uh,
deal for 16 million?
very. I know he had a bad year last year. Um, I think a lot of guys have bad 1 years. I think what he pitched one game. Um,
Yeah, 1 inning.
yeah, that's a obviously that's a rough year. Um, but the good news is like hopefully, by spring training he's completely healthy and ready to go. So, but he has a been down track record, and he has had in 2021 he had a um 3.37 ERA in 187 innings. He can strike he can strike a batter out more than K per inning, so that's a positive. And so for what they paid him and what he potentially could do, it's kind of a low risk, high reward type of move. And hey, they need they needed another starting pitcher, and he may not be the number one we need, but he might be a decent number three. And you know,
I
I
I agree.
I wish they would have got Jordan Montgomery or um all the other guys that are out there on the market. And to be honest with you, like the Jordan Montgomerys might still be an option. Probably less likely now, but it could still be an option. But the good thing is, with Montas and assuming Lodolo comes back healthy, Green, Abbott, and Ashcraft, there's your five starters. And the beautiful thing about that is you've got Nick Martinez, as you've already said, that is be a swingman. You've got Brandon Williamson, who really came on last year at the end and was arguably the best pitcher in the on the starting staff in August of last year. You've got
Right.
Connor Phillips, who has high upside and pitched well in the minors last year and got some major league experience. You got Lyon Richardson, which we've already talked about, and then you got the Chase Petties, and you got um, even the Rhett Lauder, which he probably won't make his appearance this year, but you've got a lot of depth down there that they could draw from in case of injuries, which God knows that we needed it last year. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility there, and we definitely will probably need at least 8 good starters over the course of the year at a minimum. So I would still, if I was the GM, Nick Kroll, I would still probably, if I had the money and had the latitude, I would go after Jordan Montgomery. Granted, he's probably wanting something like a 5-year deal, but this late in spring, obviously the offers are not there. He might come down on his asking price a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought on Frankie Montas was, what the hell are we doing? Giving
Yeah,
16 million to this guy. And because, I mean, I didn't know much about him, but, after looking over what he did in 21 and 22 and looking over his career, I mean, he's been hurt a lot. But in 593 career innings, he's produced a 3.90 ERA. So, I mean,
yep,
that would top our staff right now. and be our number one starter if we were going right now. I mean, the only, you could say Nicola has higher upside, and he showed it in 2022. And I don't know if last year was due to lower leg injury or if, or something else. I'm hoping it was all due to his lower leg injury that he hurt back in spring training and never got over, and then
Yeah,
got shut down.
fracture.
Yeah, then got shut down. So I do, you know, after looking at it, I think these are two quality starts. We only invested 1 year in Montas and two in Martinez. And I think that bridges the gap for some of these young guys. And I'm
Yeah,
with you. I thought Brandon Williams pitched really good um, toward the end of last year. He had a 4.46 ERA, right around league average. So I mean, he he pitched pretty well over his 23 starts, and right now, going in this year, he's our seventh starter. So last year he would have been our number one or our number two starter after Lodolo went down.
in
So
July, in
yeah,
5 starts,
yeah,
Williamson had a 2.5 ERA, and in August, in 6 starts, he had a 3.7 ERA. So,
okay,
like I said, there was a period there that he was on it. Granted, like June wasn't that great, and September didn't. They were kind of out of it by then, but they the numbers went up. But in July and August, right there in the heat of it, he was having like the best part of his year.
yeah. What do you think about the bullpen moves, and do you think we needed to do anything? Or, when I look back at it, I look at it last year, I felt like we had an average bullpen with the worst starting pitching in the majors. Um,
Yeah,
but we brought everybody back. Um, we did DFA Derek Law, but we got TJ Antoine back. We've got Sam Maul for a full season that we traded for back at midseason last year. And then we added Emilio Begon and Brent Suter. What do you think about those acquisitions?
Suter, I love the Suter signing. He went to a long time brewer. Obviously he has a lot of knowledge of the NL Central. Should help us a lot. He went to Colorado last year, bad place to pitch, and actually kind of had decent numbers, especially for pitching in Colorado. So, that at least hopefully means he'll pitch well at GABP. So I love Brent Suter. I think that he's um, he's probably the shining light of the bullpen signings this year. Even though Nick Martinez and Pagan are really really solid signings, but I really like the Suter signing the most. And obviously, you mentioned that we're getting um, PJ Anton back. Hopefully, he's as good as he was when he left. We got several left-handers in the bullpen. Like um, they're set up for a legitimate run this year, at least from a bullpen standpoint. Like I say, I would hope they don't have that number one starter that you would hope. Granted that they have some pieces that might turn into a number one, like Hunter Green and Lodolo, but they're not quite there yet. So, if you would hope a contender would have that number one starter. But like I said, they have the pieces that could turn into it. But I think they have a legitimate bullpen this year, and hopefully
Yeah,
the starters don't tax the bullpen so much that it causes injuries and such.
yeah, I think our bullpen improved. I mean, we brought everybody back. Pagan is a big strikeout guy. He has a high K per nine rates. So that is something our team kind of lacked last year, was having guys that could come strike people out. along with, besides Alexis Diaz and maybe Lucas Sims, nobody else in that bullpen really threw a high strikeout rate. So Pagan going in there is another guy that can go late innings, the seventh, eighth, or ninth, and shut people down. And I'm with you. I think the Suter move was great. He pitched. He pitches a ton of innings. If you look at his inning totals, he throws something close to about 70 innings every year with a
Yeah.
320, 3.5 ERA. He's just a quality arm. And I think, one of the things that everybody talks about is everybody said, oh, our bullpen's taxed. We're worn out. That's why we're, not pitching as well toward the back end. I think by improving our starting pitching, which we did, and adding the guys that we did, and hopefully getting TJ Antoine back, our bullpen's going to be better too, not just our starting pitching. So, I mean, I think we could be 10 games plus better just on pitching alone next year.
Oh yeah.
So,
Um,
I think,
totally agree.
all, yeah, my only two concerns about pitching, and then we'll talk a little hitting, is I worry what happens if Alexis Diaz blows up and has to be removed.
I see
Who's going to be
him.
that guy?
I see him in a lot of publications like bust list, or as like likely, their prediction to be a bust this year, in which I don't think very many people were very high on him last year. So, I can see that. Um, but still, like, he has some good stuff, and he had a really good streak there last year. Um, he tends to be wild every now and then. Um, but overall, like, I still like him to be, the closer out of the bullpen. But if he struggles or gets hurt, um, I imagine it will be Pagan will be the next one up. But the
You think Pagan over Lucas Sims? I thought Lucas
I
Sims pitched pretty well last year.
he did. Um, I think Pagan. The coach loves to mix and match, and like Diaz would often do 2 innings in here, and he likes to bring in the best closer for during like the seventh and eighth if the part of the order is up. So I imagine there'll be a lot of mixing and matching. So um, if something happens to Diaz, it would probably be between Pagan and Sims. Um, I could see it. I would probably give a slight edge to Pagan, but who knows at this point in January?
He has a little more experience. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but it's been a couple years back, but he closed for Tampa Bay Rays one year and then was
Yeah,
traded the very next year to the Padres. So, um, he does have a little bit of experience closing. Now, I've got a question for you. One of my big concerns this year um, is Ellie De La Cruz.
yeah.
Um, I think he's the most talented player in baseball. I mean, he hits the ball further than anybody else. He throws it faster than anybody else. He's the only guy I know that can steal second, third, and home all in one inning. I don't know a more exciting player, but he hit 184 against left handed pitching. Overall, his numbers were not great, even though it was exciting, but 235 batting average, 300 OBP, 410 slash line, a 710 OPS. He hit 325 in the first half and only 191 in the second half, and struck out, one out of every three times he came to the plate. He had a 33.7% K rate. Is he
But his
ready?
his problem last year was the breaking ball, off speed pitches. Um, when when he first came up, he was crushing all the fastballs. If he saw a fastball, it was gone. He crushed it. And pitchers, obviously, pitchers get a book on you. and you have to make adjustments. And he was struggling with adjustment. Um, he's young, so like I said, you kind of expect that. It's, it's coming up and crushing the ball initially isn't the isn't the most important thing for a hitter. The most important thing is how do you adjust to pitchers when they adjust to you. And like I said, he just wasn't able to hit the breaking ball. I have heard reports that he's been working out with Juan Soto in the off
Really?
season. Yeah, and it's been I forgot the hitting coach that he's been to, but he's been putting in the effort to improve in that area. So I've heard this is spring training, and you'll hear 100 different reports about 100 different players. They're changing this or changing the stance, their grip, their approach to hitting, and it's going to make all the difference in the world. It happens every spring, and this might have just been, that thing for Ellie to, jack up the excitement for him. Maybe it is, maybe it's legitimate, maybe it'll help. Um, I try to stay positive. If the if the player recognizes his weaknesses and is putting in the efforts to get better, I have to hope that it actually um, works out for him. If he's putting in the effort, that's a big plus sign. So I'm hoping that he's kind of the reason why I wouldn't mind Votto coming back. Like if Votto could impart some of his hitting wisdom to Ellie, that would be awesome. But I don't think Ellie will ever hit over 300. But I don't think he has to be a star. So
I don't even.
yeah. But
I don't even.
like they used to say with um shoot, the Billy Hamilton. Sorry, what they say used to say with Billy Hamilton, you can't steal first base. So he's gonna have to figure out a way to get on base.
He can hit though. He
Yeah,
can. He's definitely got the power. I think a lot of it's that right-handed side. He really struggles as a right. He's a switch hitter right now. He
yeah,
struggles on the right-handed side. That's where he has a lot of trouble. It's not the lefty bat that he struggles so much with. But he's young. I look to see him make a lot of improvements. One great thing about him is he plays great D and he can still run. I mean, the
yeah,
guy's the guy's going to hit if he plays all year. He's going to have 30 homers and probably 40 or 50 steals. It's just a matter of can his batting average stay up enough, and can he learn to hit against the left-handed batters.
yeah.
So we'll see.
I don't know whether you remember me telling you about going down to Louisville in May of last year to see him see him in Louisville
Yeah,
before he became a big league. And that particular game, he struck out 5 times. It was not a good game for him, and I was sitting there looking back on that. Man, I was almost kind of foreshadowing of some of his issues in the majors. But yeah,
I don't know.
he had some success though. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
definitely a
think
hole in there.
man, he got me excited about baseball. I mean,
Yeah,
you, if you, like I said, I mean, I love Acuna, but I think Ellie De La Cruz is more exciting to watch.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Acuna is ahead of him. I don't, but I mean, there's things that he does that nobody else can do.
If he
And
can, if he can get on base, if he can hit it like 280 or something like that, or get on base like on a 320 clip or something like that, 340, he will probably be, yeah, he'll be the most
he's a
exciting player in baseball.
superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a superstar. Out of the young guns, who else are you excited about? Matt McLean, CES, Noelvi, TJ Friedel,
Hold on one
Spencer
second.
Steer.
All right, sorry about that.
That's
Um,
okay.
repeat your question.
Oh, my question is, out of all the young players, not counting Ellie, who are you looking for to take the next step next year? And I mean, we've got Spencer Steer back, you got TJ Friedel, you got CES, you got New Elvey, you got Matt McLean. Who is that
Uh,
next person to go
that's the
next
beautiful
level?
thing about the Reds. There's so many good young players with a lot of potential on the team that, none of them are bad picks. Um, personally, I'm CES is probably my favorite one. I'm most
Mine
looking
too.
forward to Christian Encarnacion Strand. I think his hitting tool is off the chart. Um, he's going to get plenty of opportunity this year, um, either between first base and DH. Um, yeah, the guy just hit. He hits everywhere he's been. Um, he has a really good hit tool, and I think the sky's the limit for him. I think quietly he's probably the most under the radar good hitter in the National League. I'm trying to think of another one that might top him, but nothing like to me. He's probably the most exciting one.
I might put Jordan Walker maybe a step
Yeah,
ahead of him. But I'm with you. I agree. I think Christian Encarnacion Strand, he's the guy I look to really break out this year. I think he's going to take that next step and be a top 10 first baseman in the major leagues this next year. I really do. Even with Jamir Candelario, in Cincinnati, I think CES is going to step up. Got a
yeah,
question for you.
sure.
Who do you trade? Do you keep everybody? Because obviously it's really difficult to find playing time for Jonathan India. It's kind of difficult to find playing time for Will Benson. Um, who do you trade? I mean, even, you know, Jake Fraley's kind of, people don't talk about him after I thought he had a really great season last year.
Yeah, he had a
Or do
solid
you
season.
just, yeah,
I
I mean, do you just keep everybody and make it work, or are you still trying to include India in a trade?
I think if you could trade India and get a legitimate starter, if you can include him in a Dylan Cease deal and not have to give up like Louder and Petty as well, that would be great. Um, it the Reds as a team played much better with India in the lineup last year. I think that's probably why they went out and got Candelario. India kind of had the veteran leadership and a good clubhouse guy and kind of evened out the team. India's always hit regardless of where he was batting in the order. So, he was a good stabilizing force in the lineup. And I'm thinking that's what they're hoping with Candelario. Um, so I'm not opposed to keeping him, but I would, I don't know whether I would trade any of the Matt McLean, Marte, um, Spencer Steer, CES. I wouldn't trade any of those at this moment. Not all of them may work out, but I would at least make sure you know what you got before you trade them. But yeah, the one hole, I guess, defensively, they may have to go out and find somebody else or trade for somebody else is center field. Right now, TJ Friedel is probably their only true center fielder on the team. Um,
True.
Bray, Braley can play some center field, and I'm sure you can maybe get Benson to play a game or two out there. But Friedel's kind of the only true center fielder right now. They're thinking about Steer playing right field the majority of the time, and potentially India playing left field the majority of the time. So you got to like think to yourself, what are you going to do with Fraley and Benson, if that's the case. So they've got a lot of good players, and obviously not as many spots as you would hope that they would have. So they've got a lot. They've got a good issue, and they've got a glut of infielders that they can deal from. But I think they're definitely not going to trade Ellie. They're not going to trade McLean. McLean is probably the best defensive player on the team. Um, yeah, they definitely. As far as if I had to bet on the player with the most, who who might be a future MVP or like probably the safest pick to be the best player on the team like 5 years from now, it would probably be Matt McLean. Like
Oh,
he's
put that on the board. Yeah.
yeah, like he's solid defensively, plays second, short. Um, he hits well. He has a good hit tool. Um, super great defensive player. Um, just he's not the flashiest person, but he's a really solid for uh mainstay of this lineup. So I like him a lot.
Yeah. Didn't we, who did we have as the right-handed hitter? Was it Sine, Michael Sine? Was that the guy that came off the bench, played center field some?
Oh, last year?
Yeah.
Um, shoot, Eh,
It doesn't matter. I think I will
I
tell
don't
you
remember.
we got two minor league hitters. Blake Dunn, who was in Double A last year and is going to be in Triple A this year, and a Jacob Hurt Hurtubise. I'm
Oh yeah.
Hurtubise. They both
So
play center field, and they're Jacob, no power, 70 grade speed, stole like 40 something bags, hit like 300 plus. He's a really plus hit tool,
he can
not a
run.
lot of power. And Blake Dunn was a 2020 guy at Double A. So
So that
both
Jacob.
those guys,
So you want to hear the what do you call it, the
the
behind the
stat
story of the
line,
Jacob, yeah, of
yeah,
Hurtby.
tell me.
So he is the guy. Um, he was he went to West Point and he was drafted the year before the Reds got him, and yeah, so the Reds ended up signing him, but he's from West Point, and all he's done is he doesn't have a lot of the natural talent as the Ellie De La Cruz type. Ellie kind of oozing the talent. This guy is more of your Pete Rose type. He's kind of like the Les Buck player, and he'll show up every day. He he puts in the effort. He'll stay, for the game. He'll get there early, leave late, put in a lot of time, hits a ton, and he's probably I wouldn't if something happens to TJ Friedel, I he will probably be a guy that they call up to get a major league um his first major league start this year. Um, he can run a lot, and like I said, he's probably not going to be an all-star player, but like he can be a pretty solid everyday major league player at some point. So like I said, just being from West Point and just the work ethic and everything, kind of he's a guy that you could root for.
Yeah, I like him. He made the 40-man roster back in November. I think that's probably why they didn't go out and get anybody. Is I think they're hoping that one of these guys will be, they might make it out of spring training as a backup, or if not, they'll be in AAA and be in Louisville and be the first
Yeah,
call up if somebody gets injured. So I'm with you. You got to love this team. I mean, even if you go down to high A, you got Carlos Jorge and Sal Stewart,
yeah,
Cam Collier. There's so many guys. There was another guy I was reading about the other day that's 19 that came out. I think the Dominican. I can't even think of his name. That was got hurt after getting off to a hot start, but they think he's going to be really good. I
Well, I
mean, to
think
me, this, yeah,
Julian Aguero was the minor league pitcher of the year. I think Blake Dunn was the minor league offensive player of the year. Um,
okay.
so like both of those have pretty they're not household names yet, but by the end of this year, they could definitely be. I don't know whether that was any of those guys that you were talking about.
No, I didn't even bring up either one of those guys. And I think that's what's great about, the Reds farm system. I mean, you can look at some farm systems. I'll just take the Miami Marlins. And once you go past about two or three pitchers, none of those guys, make you excited. I mean, you can look on the
Yeah,
Reds and there's probably 10 plus, offensive players and another five or six pitchers that are kind of, exciting to look at. And you're kind of wanting to go look at the minor league numbers every day so you can see how they're doing. But they definitely are doing something right now.
yeah. So tell me what your
All
thoughts
right.
on of the NL Central and where the Reds fit in, and what's your prediction?
Well, my prediction is we're going to be better than last year. We won 82 last year. I just don't see a way. I mean, if you look at our offense, we were ninth out of 30 MLB teams last year, and that was with all the young bucks just coming up. Ellie played 98. Matt McLean played 89. Christian and Carcion Strand only played 63. No, LV only played 35. We're going to have all those guys for a full year. Plus, we added Candelario. I think we're going to add at least 50 runs scored from what we
Oh
did
wow,
last year. That's going to make us a top five offense in Major League Baseball. I think with the pitching, I think we're at least 10 wins better. I mean, I really think there's a chance that we're going to win. I believe we're going to win anywhere from 88 to 92 games. So I
that'd be
think we got
playoff
a
bound.
chance to win. Yeah, I think we got a chance to win the division. I think at very least we'll be a wild card team. As far as the NL Central, nobody really wants to take the lead. Um, the Pirates suck. The Cubs so far have not done a whole lot to improve. Now they still could bring back Bellinger. They probably still need to add another pitcher and need some bullpen help. Um, Milwaukee, they're kind of sneaky. They won 92 games, and you look at them and you say, how? But they have Corbin Burns. I think adding Reese Hoskins was a big plus. I think they're going to have Tyler Black, and then they're going to have Jackson Cheerio added to the offense. If those guys come through, they have a chance to be really good. Cardinals are going to be better. Whether they're going to be good enough, I don't know. But I just have to look at our team, the Reds, and we're good enough. We're going to be better. So I'm not
Yeah.
really worried about what they do. I'm more worried about what we're going to do. And we're an 88 to 90, 92, 93 win team. What are your thoughts?
So what? So before I tell you what I think, like, where do you see them finishing in the
I'm going to
division?
say, I'm going to go conservative and go 88 games.
I mean, but like, is
I'm
that good
going to,
enough for second or first or
I'm going to go
third?
second.
Behind who?
I think they can compete and I think they can overachieve from what I just said.
Oh yeah, I do too. But who do you think will win the division right now?
Right now, I'm, I'm going to go Milwaukee.
Okay. Like I said, I was looking at all the teams and what they've done in the off season. I think the Cardinals probably have the best um, offense. Uh, On paper, they have the best offense. Now, I think the Reds have a decent enough lineup that they could overtake and exceed St. Louis. But I think right now we'll give a slight edge to St. Louis for um, for their offense. As you said, before I jump over Cardinals, they got at least two starters here in the off season, which they absolutely needed. Had a they had a horrible pitching staff last year, and they had to replace people who retired and left. So they got Sonny Gray, Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn. Um, Sonny Gray is a really nice piece and should work out great for him, but think they're off. I don't think their pitching staff is as good as the Reds or the Brewers. Myself, the Pirates did make some improvements this year, but I still think they're probably um, good for fifth in the division. Um, I did like the fact that they brought back Andrew McCutcheon, kind of a nostalgic signing. But yeah, like it should be. They're still a building team, and you've got some players with upside like O'Neal, Cruz, and such. But I think they won't be any more than fifth. Milwaukee has probably the best staff in the division, with like you said, Burns and Peralta. Um, yeah, their staff is much. They have legitimate number of uses on their team, and Freddie Peralta will, I guess, fluctuate between an ace and a number three at times. But I think Wade Miley's um, very solid number three pitcher. Um, Obviously, Devin Williams, probably the best closer. He's arguably the best closer in the National League. Um, and like you said, they've got some good young talent in the offense. Reese Hoskins, I think that signing right there could have, in my opinion, before that signing, I was thinking that the Reds take the division hands down. Hoskins is a big enough signing in my book that it may tip it back over. It's just enough offense that it may tip the scales a little bit towards Milwaukee. Um, but in my opinion, I think the Reds have the best mixture of hitting, defense, and pitching. Um, I, I think 88 is probably a good total for them this year. Do you happen to know what the sports book has them at?
I don't. I'd like to know that, um, because I'd know whether to make a bet or not. But I mean, the only thing, like I said, I think we're a definite playoff team. I think our biggest question is we don't have a number one or number two. And I really wish we had another bullpen piece. I wish we'd gone out and got like somebody like Hector Neris,
Yeah,
another big K guy, a third big K guy to add to the back of the bullpen. Um, but I like Milwaukee just because I do like the young guys. I really like their prospects coming up. I
yeah,
think Terang that plays second base is underrated, and I think he's going to improve. I always liked Willie Adamas. I really like Tyler Black, you know that. And Reese Hoskins has always been an above average first baseman. And then when you
yeah,
throw in Churio, 2020 guy in center field, and then have Christian Yelich and Sal Frelick, a bunch of young guys, I'm kind of betting on the youth. Um, the Cardinals, I think, improved, but I really think they have some questions. I mean, they gave up Tyler O'Neill for almost nothing. Um, I just feel like there's a trouble there. Maybe
Who's that with?
maybe a
You said,
leadership problem. Maybe a leadership at the management
oh,
side
with
because
Tyler O'Neill.
yeah, I mean because you know the manager called out a bunch of players last year. It wasn't a good look,
Yeah,
and you've also got Mason Wynn. They're planning on bringing him out, starting shortstop. Is he ready? Can he hit? You've got Tommy Edman, and now they're saying he might not be ready for opening day. He's their center fielder.
yeah.
So I do think they're better. But man, I like Nick Martinez a whole lot more than Kyle Gibson. What do you think?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, Kyle Gibson's going to give him a ton of innings.
All right. According to like to answer a previous question, according to DraftKings, the over under for the Reds 82.5 wins. So you taking the over?
82 and, 82
Eighty-
and a half?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm placing a bet on that.
You're on the over?
Yeah, I'm on the over.
Yeah, I think I am too. Like I said, if they could do 82 last year, they definitely should be able to top that. But
Well,
yeah,
the reason they're doing that is because based on expected wins and our run scoring, we were only supposed to win 77 games last year. The reason we
oh,
won is we were great at comebacks and one-run
yeah,
games. Our bullpen was 48 and 30. That was number one winning percentage for bullpen in Major League Baseball out of 30 teams.
they weren't a very good
And our
team.
bullpen wasn't that great.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great stat, though.
that is a
That
good
just
stat.
shows that we won a lot of games after the fifth and sixth inning.
And with the bullpen that they have now, like you would think that they'd be able to hold a lead a lot better. So,
Well, you would
oh
think with the starting pitching that we would not have those 47 games. You've given up 6 runs from your starting pitching. Those 47 games, I wonder what their win percentage. I could look it up, but it had to be really low for those
yeah,
games.
yeah, I agree with you. But anyhow, to go back to my NL Central, I probably will take Milwaukee if I was betting it. I'd probably bet Milwaukee to win it. Cubs, like I said, the Cubs have been strangely quiet. They've, uh, yeah, like I said, you don't. They did. I guess their big offseason acquisition so far is Michael Bush, which, yeah, I
I
don't know
liked.
whether
What do you think?
that's fine, but if you're replacing Bellinger with Bush, that's a step back. I don't care how you
I
slice it.
I agree. I still think they might sign Bellinger. Now, what
Yeah,
if they sign Bellinger, put him in center, um, keep Bush at first base? I mean, start Morrell at third base. They right now they don't even have a position for him.
yeah.
So I think they still can make some moves. I mean, they still might be in on Matt Chapman for third base. Um,
There's still a lot of free agents out there.
yeah, there's still a lot of good free agents out there. Like I said, I would love for the Reds to make one more big free agent move, but you really can't. I don't love all the moves, but they added $55 million in this year's worth of contracts. When you add that up,
Yeah,
Pagan was 9 million. Um, Suter was 3 million. That's 12. You added 15 with Candelaria, 27. You added 13 with what's his name? That's 40. And then you added 16. So what is that? 56 million
something like that. It
with
wasn't.
Montas.
It was
$56 million we added in players that came from outside the organization. So
wow.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
You know
They
the Cy Young from last year is still unsigned.
Blake
Blake
Snell.
Snell.
I
He's
hope we
still
don't go
unsigned.
get Blake Snell.
Gordon Montgomery's unsigned. Clevenger. Michael Lorenzen. That would be interesting. Ryu. Um, Kershaw. Woodruff. Um, Bauer. I know we've talked about Bauer a few times. They're all. I would love to see them sign Bauer.
Out of all those names, Bauer would be the name that I would want.
I
I
think
think
you could get
Snell
him
and
at reasonable.
Montgomery's too much money. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you could get him for 10 million, 13 million, 1 year deal, prove it deal. And the Reds would be a great spot for him. It's just a matter of if how much blowback there'd be from signing him. But I kind of feel like he's going to be on a major league team. What do you think? I mean, that's a great question. Do you think Bauer will play this year in the major leagues?
I hope so. I like the guy. I even before he was a Red, like I liked him. I liked his attitude. I liked his ability to kind of be a little bit of a rebel, I guess. Was kind of some of the standard, um, the I guess unorthodox things that he would do, either online or whatever. I like I said, I was kind of a big fan. When he came here, obviously he was the Reds' only Cy Young winner ever, so that has to count for something, right? And I think he got the raw deal with. He obviously got the raw deal with the Dodgers and Major League Baseball, though. Um, yeah, like I said, I hope he's back. If even if he's not with the Reds, I hope he's back.
I hope he's back too. I mean, but I would love to see him with the Reds. If you want to talk about that, would be a huge signing. We would have, man. That'd be how do you make all those players fit?
Oh yeah.
But that would be a good question because you'd have, I don't know how many quality major league pitchers. Not all of them can be on the, on
Well,
the 26-man roster.
yeah, like I said, we already have like the chances are you'll have at least one or two guys hurt at the end of spring training, or might be set back a little bit, where they're not going to be able to break camp with the team. So there's always that. Um, you know, you can with the way they're still young and like Lindolo, you don't want to probably push him 180 innings this year, even if he were able to go that way. So you kind of have to find, these mystery injuries to sideline him and control his innings this year. So I think I think he could manage that pretty well. It's
I'd love, yeah,
better than the opposite of not having the guys and trying to manage it. So,
yeah. No, I'm with you. I kind of like the 6-man rotation. If
yeah,
you got the players, I mean, if you got the quality players, last year we didn't. If everybody's healthy, um, we probably do right now. But especially if we were to get Bauer and go with 6-man rotation, Williamson goes to the minors, and I don't know who gets bumped out. Maybe Ashcraft gets bumped out. I mean, Martinez goes into swingman role.
yeah,
Ashcraft gets bumped out, and there's probably going to be some bullpen guys that end up in the minors or somewhere.
yeah,
But it'd be a good problem to have.
yeah. It definitely would be. So I'm not opposed to it. They're already going to have a glut of infielders, and I guess if India goes to the outfielders too. So, like I said, you obviously you could rest a starter, an infielder, and outfielder every day, and have you know, a good rotation going on. You get all your
Pretty much
players
we
in.
could wrote, yeah. Any India bats right, Fraley is a left hand. He's going to platoon with somebody that's right
Yeah,
handed. Unfortunately, Will Benson had a great year, but he's left handed. So
yeah,
he's really not a platoon matchup. So I like that. We've got Steer, who's right handed, but he's going to play most every day. Um, I would think. India can platoon in the outfield. Fraley's going to platoon. Friedel's going to. I mean, we don't have a platoon with Friedel right now, but
yeah.
those are your four outfielders, and then
I heard
you can make it work.
I heard one of the reasons why they chose Candelario over some of the other potential options was because of his versatility. I guess he's um, third base, first base, um, designated hitter. That, from what I was told, that kind of why they chose him. And I just think they like um, David Bell likes versatility, being able to play him all over the place and fit the pieces where they need to fit. So um, yeah, like I said, they're gonna get plenty of rest, plenty of platoons, and it's probably good for their benefit because, like Ellie, if he struggles to start out of the gate, they could set him down for a week or so and get his head on, or they may have to send a guy down to the minors for a month
Noelvi
too.
could, yeah, Noelvi only was up for 24 games. So,
Yeah,
and he didn't spend a lot of time in AAA. So, hopefully he's ready. He looked ready. But if he takes a step back or somebody needs to go back for, like you said, 2 weeks, we have the versatility. He's a good defensive first baseman and a good defensive third baseman. One thing CES was not good at was playing defense.
yeah,
His defensive metrics were pretty bad just for the short time he was there. So if you look at that, last year we had Steer was a poor defensive third baseman, and CES was a poor defensive first baseman. So Marte looks like he's going to be a good third baseman. Um, you know,
yeah,
CES might end up being. I don't think they've given up on him being the first baseman, but I mean he might end up being just a DH when it's all said and done.
yeah. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No,
Anything else you want to discuss related to the Reds or anything else?
no, I think we've hit all the Reds points. I think you know like I said, I think they're going to be over that projection. I mean, I don't see how they don't get over that projection.
Yeah. Um.
I mean, if
So
you look at how bad they were
yeah.
pitching wise,
So I
and
do
you
have one.
just
I
go
do
ahead.
have one non-Reds related question for you. So what's up with the Braves signing all these or trading for all these outfielders?
You know, I saw that they made a trade for somebody I'd never heard of the other day in Texas, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they traded anybody yesterday, but I think they're trying to. They don't have any depth at all. So uh, if there's one thing that team lacks is depth, especially,
JT
I mean,
Martinez.
okay, never heard of him. Have you heard of
Yeah.
him?
Nope.
and so I'm gonna have to look him up. But I think if Kelnick busts, who do they go to? I was listening to a podcast. They were talking about Kelnick's been primarily a platoon guy, but he's gonna have to play full time because they don't have a right-handed bat to play in the outfield.
And they
Azuna's strictly a DH right now.
they signed Jordan Luplow as well. That was
Isn't he like a defensive first kind of guy?
yeah, I think so.
He played for the Pirates a couple years ago, so he's not any good.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Jump back to the Reds before we load. Um, a little, I guess, off the wall piece of news that I did hear about the Reds. They re-signed former outfielder Alex Blandino. Did you hear that?
No, no, I
Yeah,
remember him.
he's kind of a platoon outfielder, kind of a fourth outfielder, kind of a
Wasn't he a
triple A.
shortstop at one point?
He might have been, yeah, I think so. But anyhow, he's coming. He's decided to try his hand at pitching, and he's got a knuckleball, but he's gonna be a knuckleballer. Try that, and obviously, we're big fans of the knuckleball here, so I had to do a shout out to Alex Blandino.
Yeah, I hope it works out for him. I'd like to see a knuckleballer back in the league.
Yeah,
The
I would.
trouble is nobody wants to catch it, so
Oh,
he's gonna have to be good in
yeah,
order to make it in the big leagues for them to find somebody to catch it.
yeah. I think it would be fun to stand in there and try to hit one. Yeah, these obviously not a major league knuckleballer, but maybe somebody like Alex Blandino trying to pick it up. I think it'd be kind of cool to get in there and watch it dance and try to swing, try to hit that thing.
Yeah, it would be cool if we had somebody like Wilbur Wood or some guy that just came
Oh
off the
yeah,
street and learned the pitch. Only
yeah,
hit topped out about 65.
yeah,
about 5'11" and about 250
Dang it.
from the
And
right side. Drinks beers in between innings and throws the knuckleball 200 times a game.
that'd be
That would be
awesome.
fun. He
All
would
right,
make a
man.
ton of money if he was any good.
Oh yeah.